What's going on, ladies and gents? That's right. Welcome back to another Bleach Soul Resonance video. And yes, I am still playing the game. I'm always getting the same question asked every single video I make. Payne, why aren't you covering Bleach Soul Resonance? Quite honestly, it has nothing to do with me not playing the game. I am still actively playing. Yes, I am still very, very much a player in the game. And yes, I'm very much a free-to-play player in the game still. You guys can see here, the Rukia thing is still available. So I have not spent a penny on this game. And I want to go over what I've been doing, where my account's at, where I've been kind of like enjoying the game, where I've kind of been chilling, what I've been up to, and also what the game does really, really well, and why I'm going to be skipping Gin, what I've kind of noticed in terms of patterns of how the game works. Now, the game is very, very early on, guys. Keep that in mind. And right now, the meta is slowly starting to build. Each single character coming out is slowly replacing the next DPS and slowly becoming the better character, etc., 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 and is slowly fleshing out the various DPSs available in this game. As you guys can see here, my free-to-play account is as follows. Aizen is my number one right now with 33k power. You guys can see he is by far probably my best unit. And then I have Ichigo over here with 30.4, and then I have Urahara 26.2, and then I have Toshiro with 26.1, and it goes down the list, right? So what I'm doing here, guys, is I'm slowly being very careful about who I pick and choose as my main units and who I'm going to summon on. The thing to remember with any of these games is that there's always a honeymoon phase, and I'm not convinced we're not past that yet, right? I'm still convinced that we're currently sitting in the honeymoon phase, so I'm very, 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 very scared of pulling anything right now that I don't seem worthwhile. Now, this is the beauty of what Bleach does so well, and I'm going to give them credit where credit is due because I believe they deserve it for this. There is no urgency, and I want to make this clear. Every gacha has a very, very notorious method of creating urgency to pull for characters. There has been zero urgency to pull for really any character outside of Aizen being the last one I think I'd pull. This game allows us to breathe. What I mean by that is there's nothing currently in the rankings that's going to make you say, hey, I got to get number one on this, or I'm going to fall too far behind, or hey, I got to get this character, or I'm not going to be able to finish this stage. None of that really occurs in this game. This game allows you to kind of focus on the characters you enjoy, and the characters you enjoy playing with make it much more fun than being forced to work on a meta. That's one thing Soul Resonance does extremely well that many other games do not allow you to do. Many other games make you feel that FOMO. I honestly don't feel a FOMO for Gin. I've seen gameplay, I've done the trials. There's nothing about him that makes me say, hey, you have to do this or you're kind of screwed, right? Let's go over Gin as a character and why I'm not summoning for him overall. Okay, so let's go to the gacha section. Of course, he's out. You guys can, maybe you can't see it, but I've got 8.725 gems left. Right? Let me bring my screen down here. You guys can see it a bit better. Whoop, right there. Okay, so you guys can see there, 8.725 gems, and I've got 10 tickets. So I've got enough to summon. I've got a little bit close enough to get stamps, and of course, I've got some of these saved up here just in case they add some characters from limited banners over to the regular banners. That way I have enough to kind of summon for characters that I want and get boundaries done, right? Now, from what I've seen with Gin, the character does extremely well in terms of damage, right? Extremely well. And with him comes the opportunities to advance SR characters. So you have Chad, and you, of course, you have Ishida, sorry. And then you can spend tokens on this. I'm going to save all that. I'm not going to bother with that. But if you look at him as a character overall, is he worth it and does he do well? Gin, honestly, is a really, really strong character, right? First off, the abilities to cause bleed in this game is a pretty big deal. So let's go over some of the things that he brings to the table and why he's worth it, but also why I'm skipping him because of the lack of free-to-play that this character has, in my opinion. So first off, his Bankai. Gin fast approaches the enemy, performs multiple slashes. He then releases Bankai, launches a fatal strike, and then with the speed under Shikai state, dealing damage equal to 1,620% of attack and inflicting Impale Scale. You guys can see here, every time 100 Impale Scales are applied, dealing damage equal to 500% of Gin's attack, it triggers one time. So it's just a bonus attack that happens, and he works really well with Lacerate, obviously with like Tosin wounds and stuff, right? So really, really good for that. So this is a tap and hold technique with one or more technique points. This is kind of making him a more of a unique character character, but also a little tougher to play. And I will get into auto very shortly. I think this is the best game for auto I've ever seen, outside of a couple of minor hiccups they need to fix, and I think it'll just improve it overall. But this is probably one of the best auto games ever. So if you are a gacha player and you're looking for auto, this is the game for you. I promise you, it pretty much takes care of all of your problems from that perspective. Okay, so let's go over this real quick and talk about his technique. So tap and hold, you'll see little bars. We'll show you this later on. So Gin enters this charge state, consumes 1 technique point per charge to boost the technique power. Release the skill button, or upon deleting all technique points, triggers an attack corresponding to the total points consumed during the charge state. Gin is invincible during charging, so that's really, really good, so you don't get interrupted and you don't take any damage. Recovers 1 technique point every 10 seconds if you're not doing your moves. And then he has Thrusting Spear, which consumes 1 technique, Serpent Shadow Strike, which does 2 techniques, and then 3 is Blade Sundering Spear, and then that one there is the big one, right? So every single one of these do a certain amount of damage, but they also inflict a certain amount of impale scale. Remember, you're trying to get to 100 impale scale as fast as possible, this allowing you to do an extra 500% more damage based on his attack. So you can see the first one does 12%, then 24, and then the last one does 36, but you see the percentage numbers go up quite a bit, 230, 460, and then it doubles. So you ideally want to do Blade Sundering Spear as much as you possibly can, just to get as much damage out as you possibly could push out, right? So overall, from a damage perspective, this man push out crazy damage. Now, his passives, these are important as well too. Of course, 100 blades. So Gin's attack inflicts impale scale on the enemy. Upon reaching 100, he does his 500% of Gin's attack. Except for Gin's attacks, his teammates' special attacks techniques, battlefield skills, ultimates, and counterattacks also inflict 35 impale scale on the enemy. Cooldown is only 1 second. Impale triggered by teammates' attacks is counted as triggered by Gin's attack. So you can see why his DPS skyrockets, right? It's not just him adding it, they're also contributing to it. So making him an ideal unit to have out there. Now, Gin's one of my favorite manga characters. His arc is one of the best arcs out there. But unfortunately, when it comes down to the game, I'm trying my best to separate myself from character and my love for the manga, right? Completely trying to separate that. So the next passive, Disguise, increases the spiritual pressure charge rate by 50% when landing a basic attack, so he gets spiritual rate a little quicker. And each time impaled damages is triggered, technique points recovered time is reduced by 3 seconds. This is a 4-second cooldown, so you can see he does it more often. And then increased technique damage by an extra 36% when Gins attack enemies affected by debuffs. This is why he's so good with Tosen or Toshiro. He does freeze, anything from freeze, lacerate, wounds, impales, etc. All of that stuff will cause additional damage, right? So you guys can see his basic attack also does do swift attacks. He's super fast. He does 5 attacks with Shinsu, dealing damage equal to 328% of attack, inflicts 40 impale scales. Gin also accumulates spiritual pressure if his attack hits the enemy. Gins rapidly impales the enemy with Shinsu. This is the tap the basic attack after triggering perfect dodge, dealing damage equal to 270% of attack, inflicts 30 impale scales, and upon successful hit, Gin's spiritual pressure is increased. So you can see here, guys, it's all about spiritual pressure. He just non-stop does, his impale attacks. So Gin seizes the enemy's opening and counterattacks with Shinsu, dealing damage to 640 of attack and inflicts 50 impale scale. Gin gains 1 technique point if he counters successfully. Insane amount of impales. It's all about impaling. Now, this is where it gets a little crazy. He is really good as an A0, right? But as soon as you get him to A1 and A2, it's even crazier. Look, gains 3 technique points right away entering the battle, fully restores technique points after releasing the ultimate Bankai, and then in the A2, for every 1 technique point consumed, the critical damage of the next ultimate is increased by 35%, stacking up to 6 times. Hitting the enemy with final strike of the basic attack reduces technique point recovery time by 2 seconds. So you guys can see he does improve like substantially when it comes down to his boundaries. His boundaries are almost a necessity to see him do insane amount of damage. Now he does really well already as it is, but the more you boost him up, the higher you're going to see the damage output. That's the case pretty much for everyone else, but Gin specifically benefits the most out of it. Okay, so let's go into here and do a little bit of testing with Gin. Now, I want to remind you guys, like I mentioned, there's something that this game does really well, and I want to talk about this before we continue here, and that is the ability to push auto. Auto play in this game is by far the best I've ever seen it in any game. Seriously, the only discrepancy I have with auto in this game is the fact that sometimes it doesn't prioritize the buffs versus debuffs, and it doesn't prioritize using ultimates at the right time. So for example, my team is Urahara, Aizen, and Bankai Ichigo. And when Bankai Ichigo's ultimate's up, they don't utilize the counters and then the basic attack with his weapon enough, and then going into the two Getsuga Tenshos, right? And then back into the into his basic attack with his weapon, and then finally doing the ultimate. What they do is they'll do one counter, one basic attack with his weapon, and then they sub him out. And you're like, you're missing out all that extra damage. So there's a lot of times where I have to intervene to make the damage output look better, but nonetheless, it does extremely, extremely well overall, and probably one of the best things I have to give this game credit for is that. Now, as I mentioned, the honeymoon phase, I'm not totally convinced it's not over yet. I'm going to give this game a couple more weeks before I decide to start summoning again, because I feel like the best is yet to come. There's Akira, there's obviously Grimjaw coming, there's probably going to be Vasta Lord Ichigo coming sometime soon. So we have a lot of plethora of big characters coming out. Probably they're going to change the meta quite a bit. And I think right now, again, like I mentioned, there's really no urgency to summon for Gin as a character, right? So, okay, let's go over here. Enough of my talking. Let's look at the actual character. So, combat training, we did that already. Operation report, where is that? Edge revealed. Here it is. Okay, so if I go to Gin, you guys will see how he's used. Okay, I'm going to show you guys real quick how this character is used and why you want to use him the way you do. And honestly, he's probably one of the most fun characters they've released so far. So it's not a bad thing if you decide to change. So Gin's basic attack, build up spiritual pressure. When reach 50%, tap and hold the basic attack to release the first strike of the special attack. When it reaches 100%, after releasing the first strike, tap the basic attack again, right? So you guys can see here, look at these fast attacks, right? Look at that. Look how cool that is, man. And then, of course, there's the basic attack right there, or his skill, right? So build this up, build it up. Once you get it, hold it down, bam, into his special, right? It's insane how fast he's at that doing. There it is, right there. So he's a little bit more of a tap and a hold button character. Okay, so here we go. Now let's go into this. Now accumulate 3 special techniques through special attacks. Okay, so we're gonna just build this up real quick. We're gonna go ahead and build 3 of these up. So we got 1. You guys, there's 2. Okay, we're going to build a 3rd one right now. Okay, so watch this. There's the 3rd. Okay, now watch. Hold this down, right? You guys can see if you can hold it. It's telling me to hold. So you can see hold. There it is. 1, 2, 3. Right? And you guys can see the impale right there instantly gets affected once it gets to 100. And here you're going to see you want to reach 100 impale. So you're going to see right on the opponent, right? We're going to go ahead and build this up. Ultimate. It looks so damn good, man. Seriously. It does look like a little bit like a fireball. You guys can see right up here, the impale. Max out impale to trigger extra damage that counts as ailment damage. So you want to build him with ailment as much as you possibly can so that impale remains, right? It's, again, he's just extra damage, 500% extra damage of his attack. So if you build him with a ton of attack, crit damage, you're going to see a ton of damage by this man. You guys can see there's wound. He's right. We put wound on there. So that now puts a debuff. We're doing more damage because of it. We're going to go ahead and hold this down. We're going to see if we can get a counter in here. Let's show you what the counter looks like as well. Let's see if we can do it. Here's his battle skill, by the way. Tosen's, right? So again, if you put wound on people, bring him back in, he does more damage because of it. Look at that. Look at that damage. There's the impales. You guys saw the impale word right there? That's when you know you didn't impale properly. Let's see if we can get a counter in. There it is. And this will put more impale on the opponent. Look at that. Now, hold this down. There's an impale. Look at that. Look how much damage that does. An extra 500% damage right there just from doing that. Did we already kill this guy? We already killed him. He was dead already. Oh, there we go. We have the opponent now. This is why he's so good with Tosen, guys. Like, Tosen is so perfect with him because all the extra wounds that he just causes, that's extra damage over time. You guys can see that impale right there applied as well. We're going to put Gin in here, put more impales through. Right? So here, watch this. So good. So good. Such a good character. But, again, he's great. He's fun, but I feel like he's going to be very replaceable very soon with either Grimjaw or Kira is going to come in and just break the meta or one of these other characters. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Did you guys summon for him? If you did you enjoy him? Let's go over his weapon real quick. I actually get a chance to really look at his weapon. I think his weapon might also be a little bit broken as well too. So let's see what this does. Let's go into the fastest Zanpakuto. So when Impale is triggered a certain number of times, Gin gains the following buffs. Gin technique deals 12.5% more damage for 15 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. That's crazy. Trigger 2 times, Gin's crit rate increased by 15% for 20 seconds. Unstackable, so that's pretty damn good. 15% raw crit damage. Trigger 3 times, Gin can actively perform a counter attack once, dealing damage equal to 800%, inflict 50 Impale scale, and gain 1 technique point. Attacks from Gin team inflict Impale scale at 30% higher rate. Yeah, it explains why he does so much damn damage. So, Impale is something that's obviously really, really OP and broken. Gin is pretty damn OP and broken. But, again, I think right now, because there's no urgency for summoning a character like him in this game, I think I'm going to hold off and hopefully do a little bit better when a newer character drops. And at that point, I think we'll have enough summoning tokens to get a character's boundaries up, because I really want to focus on one character that's going to be so damn broken that the boundary is going to matter so much that I'll have enough to actually go ahead and summon for that. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Let me know what you guys did. Did you guys summon for him? Are you guys waiting like I am? Are you free to play, pay to win? Don't forget to like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.